Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. This is the case of the Idaho 4. May the 4 victims rest in peace. Condolence to the families. And may the correct justice be served. Pay attention to how close the neighbor's house is to 1122 Kings Road. The camera, door cam, is right next to this white door, so it would have picked up any and all the noises of what happened that night at 1122 Kings Road, especially Xana's room, because it's not far from Xana's room, and Kaylee's room, the living room too. It would have picked up a lot of movements. It's going to be interesting to see that on trial, how much the cam recorded. But let's not forget, whoever did these awful crimes would have known and studied the premises well, so they would have tried to avoid the cams as much as they could, especially if it was the frats or somebody who's partied in this house before. The layout of this house is quite confusing, where the steps is inside the house, from the first floor to the second floor to the third level. It's one big house that is joined. The behind was made much later, I believe. So somebody has to be actually physically inside this house to know where the toilets are, where the corridors are, to feel so comfortable walking inside and outside a house with 5 roommates, a boyfriend and a dog, and neighbors. What about the Queen's apartments? People would have heard the noises. People were fighting for their lives. May they rest in peace. Pay attention to how the house looked like the night of the tragedy. Who would dare coming inside a house that is shining so bright, the lights are all on, Kaylee's sister Alivira said that Kaylee and Maddie took Murphy the dog out to party when they came home. So it didn't look like they were frightened. Who would dare to come in a house like this? Unless the person or people felt safe, comfortable, knew the whereabouts, inside out. Let's not forget 3 unidentified male DNAs were found inside and outside this house. The 4 figures running towards Sigma Chi from King's Road would have made more sense. That they could have been possibly, allegedly involved. Wonder how they were ruled out so quickly. Look at how bright it is. Who would take the chance? It is quite bright. The front door was left wide open. A neighbor on his way to work saw it wide open at 8:30 a.m. in the morning. Bethany Funk would have heard any movements outside, I guess, especially since she lives in the first floor. And if the door was wide open, she would have felt the breeze. It's an old house. It should have got colder, quicker, I could imagine. The neighbors must have surely heard something. This is the parking place at Queen's Apartments, right behind the victim's house. So if somebody was driving, like BK allegedly, would have definitely parked behind. But just say it was BK who did this. How did he manage to do all this within 12-15 minutes? He's not a hitman. He's a PhD student. I'm wondering who was living at the first floor, near Bethany Funk, where the lights are on. The sixth roommate wasn't living there. So was it a store? Was there some kind of storage? Was that why the resident was the target, allegedly, according to the prosecutor himself, William Thompson? He said in the beginning that he believes the house was the target and not the students. The police thought that one or more of the students were the target. The mayor thought it was a crime of passion. The timeline was between 3 to 4 a.m. Then it got changed to 4 to 4:25. DM was not a witness. All of a sudden she's a witness, and the description she gave doesn't even match BK. The height is totally different. She said 5'10", BK 6'2". Bushy eyebrows could be anyone. Even if she saw a man with bushy eyebrows, does that mean that he was the only person inside the house? Does that mean he committed the crimes? They still haven't shown us yet BK entering the house or leaving the house. All they said was a white Hyundai Elantra, and that description was wrong too. They were searching for white Hyundai Elantra 2011 to 2013 model. BK was driving a 2015 model. So nothing matches of the description. It's strange that DM did not mention the person's eye color. In psychology, we believe that the eyes is the first thing you see of someone's face. You remember the eye color, the height. You couldn't go wrong on the height because the corridor is so small. Why did it take her 8 hours to call the police? Was this an inside job? Allegedly.
A couple of weeks has passed now. How much more clear is that picture now?
Yeah, and we keep using this picture analogy, but it is true. The further we get into this, the more evidence that we receive back from our crime labs. We've been receiving it all along now. The more analytics that we have, the more that we're able to see really what occurred. Again, we use the word context. We're trying to develop context, talking with the various people that were around the victims that night. And we've done over 250 interviews. So really, we are getting a clearer picture as we go. The question then becomes, how long does it take to have a full picture? We're not sure. This is a very complex investigation, has a lot of different ins and outs on it. And so, from the crime scene itself to the fraternity house to the businesses downtown, there's a lot of things that we need to know. And there's potential for, a suspect or suspects to be in any of the pictures or any of the videos. And so we really have to review things and take a real thorough look at this entirety of the crime. Hey there. We recognize that there's frustrations out there, a lack of information. But again, ultimately, this is a complex criminal investigation, and we will provide as much information as possible. And we're always wanting more information as well from the public.
Speaking of more information from the public, the family of Xana Kernodle has sent out flyers. They sent some out last month, and they've sent more out this week. Basically just begging people, asking people with any information to come forward, whether it's the tip line, whether it's the digital media upload with the FBI site. So they sent out, I think, 5,000 or so of these flyers in the mail. So talk to me about how important that could be, because this happened. A lot of people left campus and left town, and you're saying you think, there's somebody out there that knows something.
Yeah, we think it's very important, and we appreciate that support from the family. We want additional leads as well. Anybody that had looked at some of their past social media posts or past pictures and think something's out of the ordinary, something's odd, we want that information. I think we've been consistent in saying that the activity that might have been done within those pictures or those videos that people may or may not want to submit to the police, that's not what we're interested in. We're interested in the context of the crime. That way we can piece together aspects of this case, that we get a better picture.
Roads are like in this area, and there's only one way in and one way out. But if you were on foot, it's easier to get in and out. Not so much from the back, because I showed you at the beginning of the show, there's a wooded area, there's sort of a steep incline back there, and then more houses, and there's these fences. Some of the other houses on the side are fenced in. But if you left the front of the house, you wouldn't have to walk down the road the way we drove in. You could cut through, and this is what a lot of the students do that we've seen coming and going. There's this little walkway that cuts through between a big apartment building and a couple of houses on this side. And this is the way a lot of the kids go to class or go to the fraternity houses. They walk down this little pathway in between the buildings, and they come out to this parking lot right here. So you bypass that whole road that we drove in on, and you end up here in this parking lot, and then you've got access to the main drag here. You've got the field, band field, which we've been talking about, and then there's the Sigma Chi house. So you're pretty much out at the campus just within maybe like 30 seconds by taking that little shortcut, Ashley.
I don't understand why the police was most focused on the white Hyundai Elantra and vehicles. Why won't they focus on the people who were on foot that night? We saw the 4 figures running towards the Sigma Chi fraternity. We know there was a fight at the party with the Davids, allegedly Xana and Ethan. There was a lot of movements going on. around Banfield. Could this be the exculpatory evidence Bethany Funk has, according to Brian Christopher Kohlberger? Pay attention to the forensic team taking pictures outside Bethany Funk's room. Bethany Funk would have had a clear view, clear sound to what was going on outside her house. What kind of exculpatory evidence could Bethany Funk have? If the suspect or suspects came from behind the house and passed by a window, should have seen them clearly, unless it was an inside job and she knew about it, allegedly. This was the last picture taken of the triplets, especially Ethan, at the Betty Ball. That was between 8 to 9 p.m. They looked very happy. Was all this pre-planned? Was there something that will happen instantly? But there's no picture of Xana that night. That's what makes it harder to understand the couple's timeline. The police didn't even know it. They were asking the public. And you can imagine if the frats were behind these crimes, allegedly, it would be difficult to prove it because the timeline has been changed. The witness had been changed, or the witness were not witness to start with. They became witness 7 weeks later. Bethany Funk has exculpatory evidence because she was at the Sigma Chi fraternity party that night. Let's not forget that. What happened to the couple? 2:10 to 2:15 is when Hunter, Ethan, Macy, and Xana were all seen at the party. What happened after that is the question. What are they hiding? What are the students hiding? What are the frats hiding? Why isn't the timeline clear? What happened at the Sigma Chi party? Even Eddie, the driver who drove Kaylee and Maddie home, said it was quite about the frats, the Sigma Chi frats were having a party. So there's loud music coming from there. And we were told that allegedly David L. and David B. and Xana and Ethan were all involved in a fight. Did that escalate? Dylan heard rummaging upstairs. It's like a puzzle. If you put it all together, it looks most likely that the frats were involved. I wouldn't be surprised if they even rented BK and that he had some kind of involvement too. Or he could be innocent. It's just shocking that it took Idaho Moscow detectives 5 days, 5 whole days, to call the FBI. No proper interviews were conducted, allegedly. Hoodie guy drove home to his family's cabin. Police integrations was done over the phone, allegedly. All these people randomly around the areas, or was this all pre-planned? Could these guys have been keeping the police busy? What is Saeed watching? He was asked to bring out his license. Look at these pictures. The above one looks like, I don't want to mention the name, but you'll know who. What is Saeed watching? And he was sending Venmos around. Whose car was this? There was a lot going on that night. I mean, a lot. That truck came from Kings Road direction. DM was taking a picture in front of a truck like that, and she had the keys way up. Kind of boasting about it. And I heard it's a stepmother's truck. I've heard it's a father's truck too. Could this have been the truck Inan Hush was talking about? There goes the truck. What did these young men know? The clothes are too thin for the weather. It was cold, it was snowing. One of them has night goggles or night glasses on. I don't believe this was all a coincidence. What was happening at Banfield and the grub truck was no coincidence. Allegedly. Just taking some still pictures of them. The whole behavior, the one on the right, the way he's breathing, he's very anxious. Now they're all on their phone devices. Saeed was on his phone device. I wonder if they were watching all this live on a camera. There was a recording device, video recording device that they were sharing from 1122 Kings Road. Just a question. I've always said it looks like they're watching this live. They're sending each other pictures. It's one of them. Just pay attention to their behavior. The cop has gone inside his car. They weren't even intoxicated to be stopped. And Saeed came after these three boys on purpose. He said he doesn't know them, but I think he came to distract the cops. And I really believe these three boys came from 1122 Kings Road, allegedly. Let's not forget DM heard rummaging upstairs. This one hardly ever puts his hands down. The one on the right-hand side. His clothes is too tight. It's like a female's clothes. Both his shirt is too short, his pants are too tight. He's very anxious. They're supposed to be standing in front of law enforcement, and they're busy on their phone devices. Aren't their hands supposed to be where the cops can see them? These three boys, Saeed, the four figures running, hoodie guy, Jack D, Adam, all of them need to be investigated properly. And Beaky, obviously. Here's some Van shoes. And here's bushy eyebrows too. The one on the right with his hands crossed. Why are they so busy on their phone devices? Look at how nervous he is. I know it's cold, and his hand is swollen. Look at his hand. Look at how swollen his hand is. Compared to his other hand. He keeps on hiding that hand for some reason. All I'm doing is zooming in. It looks like fresh injuries. Unless he's just going around beating on the bushes. Or punching some walls. Doesn't make sense. Where have they been? Look at his eyes. Look at the other one. He's wearing glasses. Are this where the sunglasses or night vision glasses? So you can see his hands are swollen. Look at the difference between his hands. This one is really swollen. But guess what? The police said there's nothing to see here. Area where 4 University of Idaho students were murdered was known to be a party spot. Taxi driver says that's where people go to get rugs from. So this is one of the taxi drivers saying this. So the house was not only a party venue, it was a place where people used to go and get rugs from, according to him. Wonder if that was why the house and the victims were the targets. Allegedly. Was BF sleeping that night? Or was she actually texting DM? Why did it take them 8 hours to call 911? What did BF see from a window? What exculpatory evidence is BF talking? Is BK talking about BF? He says she has exculpatory evidence. Is he just trying to waste time? Or does she know something that we don't? I personally believe BF and DM know everything. This was more than a frozen shock. They know exactly what happened. They were either told not to come outside the room, especially BF knows a lot because she was at the party. She must have seen the fights break out. She knows exactly what time the couple came home, what time Maddie and Kaylee came home, because they all would have to open the front door to come in if they didn't come from the sliding door. Does BF know BK personally? Is that how his DNA ended up on the knife sheet? Is that a possibility? Or does Brian Christopher Koberger know Dylan Mortensen? Why were the surviving roommates let be? And why was Murphy the dog let be too? That was good, but there has to be a catch. The answer lies in there. The neighbors have to have heard all the yelling. People are fighting for their lives. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Have a lovely week.